I have something very special and very powerful indeed in my left hand. What is it? It's called magic towing dust. What you do is you sprinkle it on the pickup, and without making any mechanical changes whatsoever to the pickup, you increase the pickup's towing capacity. Now, this is something that the manufacturers all covet and value because, well, let's face it, it's great PR. But is it safe? TFL investigates, coming up next on the Fast Lane Truck. Now, it wasn't all that long ago that we didn't have a standard for horsepower, we didn't have a standard for MPG. I mean, how do you determine a truck's or car's horsepower? Do you do it at the crank? Do you do it at the wheel? Well, all that was settled because the Society of Automotive Engineers got together and created a standard. Unfortunately, currently there is no standard for the towing capacity or payload capacity of a truck that all the manufacturers adhere to. So Kent, I have to say I owe you a huge gratitude because I stole your magic towing spring dust.
We're using it the right way, so
and turned it into magic towing dust. So thank you. You've been championing that for a long time. Tell me, when did you first become kind of aware that manufacturers were sprinkling magic towing dust, spring dust, on the trucks?
Well, I'm an old farmer, so towing is my thing. And when I first got into journalism, 12 years ago or so, I couldn't figure out why the truck would have a certain rating one year and then maybe the next month the new model would come out with everything being the same and it had the higher towing rating and a higher payload. It didn't make any sense. And then I'd be on an airplane ride coming back from a media launch of, say, truck brand A, and on the way back I'd get a text from truck brand B and they would have a new number out with towing and payload to beat brand A. And I thought, wait a minute, what did you guys do? From one day to the next, did you guys change the frame? Has it got thicker wheels? But they didn't do anything, so I figured out that it's magic spring dust or magic towing dust. They go out and do a seance above it and sprinkle it on there, and all of a sudden now it can tow more. It has more capacity. So that's always been my thing, is how do you come up with a bigger number if you haven't changed anything?
A few years ago, the Society of Automotive Engineers did get together and come up with a standard. It's called J2807. The problem is that Toyota is the only one that has adopted it. And some people might say it's not about safety, right? But it is about safety. When you're going down, like our series of gauntlet runs, you really feel like you want to know what this thing's capability is, because if it doesn't have the brakes that are capable of stopping that trailer, it really is quite frightening and seriously dangerous.
Well, certainly. Why would you come up with a bigger number without putting bigger brakes, or a thicker wheel or a heavier frame? How could you do that? I mean, it doesn't even make sense that people would believe that, but it's all marketing, It's all about getting, one step over the competition, saying yours tows more, yours has a higher payload, but, you can't prove it by me on some of these models. Now, sometimes they do actually change them. They'll come out with a thicker frame. They'll do all these things that make sense. Bigger brake rotors, proportional brakes.
Well, yeah, the number one reason people buy a full-size truck is capability. So when you start talking about changing the numbers or standardizing the system, now you are affecting what you can market and what you can say you can market. And that's really where the trouble comes in. But on the flip side of that is, as we keep raising our numbers, if we don't have some standard to put that in there, you have people who are truly overloading the vehicle. And for the guy who tows all the time, it's probably fine. He knows how to handle it. But for the person who is your weekend tower, when you run into overloading a truck and you get into an emergency lane change, or you're parking on a hill, or so on and so forth, that person can get in trouble real quick.
So let's keep track. Toyota has been the first manufacturer to sign on to J2807. Ford says that they will sign on when they improve their trucks. They've said that before.
As we make major changes to the vehicle, then we move to the SAE standards. So anytime we do an F-150 major change, Super Duty major change, then we'll move over to those kind of standards.
So will the next F-150 be compliant with 2807?
When we do a major change, it will be compliant.
All right. So is that a yes or no?
Well, yes. I mean, when we do the major change, we will have a compliant F-150.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a pickup war. Obviously, the manufacturers want to keep their powder dry so that if somebody comes up with a bigger number, they can come up with a bigger number. But at the end of the day, it stretches credibility, right?
Right.
You want to know that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And I think that's only fair to the consumer. And let's face it, if you're a Ford engineer, Chevy, GM, whatever, Toyota engineer, and you're playing all on the same ballpark, you're proud of the fact that you've built a truck that can tow this much and that it meets these standards based on the Society of Automotive Engineers. And I think in a way, the engineers are the ones who are saying, we want these numbers to be meaningful, and yet I think it's the marketing folk in the company who are saying no.
Exactly. You hit it nail on the head.
And Chrysler says that they exceed or meet their own internal tests. Let's talk about towing. I mean, pickups are all about, you guys like to say, this is the biggest tool in the toolbox.
Right. Well, there is a little bit of an arms race that is going on, but we rate our vehicles and go through a fairly comprehensive rating standard, but it's going to take a little more than some magic pixie dust, I think, to make up this gap, because in the case of our Ram 3500 equipped with the 6.7 liter Cummins with 850 pound-foot of torque, is capable of towing 30,000 pounds.
Yeah, so there wasn't a standard for MPG, and then the manufacturers got together and decided there was one. There wasn't a standard for horsepower, and there now isn't a standard for towing. Do you see in the future the manufacturers actually getting together and coming up with a standard so that it's a number that the consumer, the truck buyer, can depend on?
Well, I think consumers can depend on those numbers. They're all very well documented as to what a truck is capable of performing.
You're amazed what you can do if you have a good set of trailer brakes, but it's not just about the brakes. It's about what the truck brakes can do. It's about the engine braking. It's about the cooling of the truck, and making sure that the truck as a system is working properly to ensure the safety of the operator who's trying to tow those loads.
And at the end of the day, car buyers and truck buyers especially want to be able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and that is the bottom line.
I was so happy when it came out. The Society of Automotive Engineers got together with the truck manufacturers, some trailer manufacturers, some hitch companies, and decided what these trucks should do. And that way the consumer can say, hey, this truck is ready to tow this trailer and this, that, and the other. Because if they go off the commercials, I mean, who knows? They'll tell you a generic number, like it may be the two-wheel drive single cab that can tow this giant number, but if, marketing makes it look like it's the truck configuration you want, like a crew cab. So that standard was going to really help a lot of people, and I was so sad that Toyota's the only one that actually jumped on board. GM jumped on board for a day, and then Ford changed their mind, and so here we are stuck. We're stuck without a true standard for the consumers to judge trucks and what their capacity is, their capability. Towing, braking, payload. Those are the things that need to be safe on the highways. It is.
If I were to look into my crystal ball, I would say that within the next 5 years, the manufacturers will most likely adopt the J2807 standard. Just because magic towing dust may be great marketing, but it's not safe. It's about having a standard that we can rely on, and it's about being able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And that is something we can't do today. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Truck. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.